Hi, I'm Romana Maiori. Welcome everybody.
And I'm Dario Ponissi. You've landed on Joint Adventure Level 2.
Home of guitar lessons just for you.
Another rhyme.
What's cooking today?
Oh, tasty things.
Give us a foretaste.
Sure. Today we're going to get more acquainted with arpeggio usage, something that will further empower your inner guitarist.
Sounds delicious. So take a deep breath, relax, get your guitar and
Play on.
play on.
Play on. All right, so the theme for today will be a very simple theme in a way, but it's important that we understand each other. Music is communication, art is communication, so it's important that we communicate well between ourselves. So I'm talking about a thing called root bass. Root bass is also, how can I say, it's in the word basically. Root means, the place where all things come up. If you want to find a root bass of a chord, for instance, let's say that you want to find the root bass of C. All right, so the word tells you that you have to go at the roots of the problem. And so you will find that the root of the chord is the note of C. All right, so for instance, if I want to play a song that starts with C, all right, I can strum. Oh, by the way, I received a mail recently from somebody who asked me why I play a C chord with 4 fingers, and actually when I taught it, I was playing with 3 fingers. All right, so since we are at it, let me explain this part. All right, so it's a little bit of habit that I have to give a different bass to the chord of C major. Since we're talking about bass. All right, so if I play the C chord with 3 fingers, placing my ring finger on the 5th string, 3rd fret, all right, and the middle finger goes on 4th string, 2nd fret, and the forefinger goes 2nd string, 1st fret. All right, the lower note would be this one, which is the note of C. All right, so basically I'm doing, in a way, a root bass. Okay, but the 6th string is the note of E. All right, E is already included in the chord of C. C, E, G. So in a way, I'm giving priority, in a way, to the note of E. It's not a problem. I have 2 C, 1 here and 1 here, and 1, 2, and 3 notes of E. All right, and 1, of course, note of G on the open string, the 3rd open string. So I'm doing this. In order to put a little bit more balance, in a way, to this chord, I apply my ring finger on the 6th string, 3rd fret, where I find a G. And the rest is the same as before. By doing this, I have 2 notes of C, 2 notes of G, and 2 notes of E. So in a way, it's a little bit more balanced. But don't worry about it. You can, you can play the chord of C as we studied it before, and then later on, if you like, you can try also this variation. All right. So having taken care of this, let's go back to the root bass. I was saying, if the chord of C has the root bass of C, for instance, if I change to A minor, the root bass of A minor would be, of course, yes, A, which in this case I find on the open string of A, the 5th string. For instance, if I had to go into D minor, which is down here, you remember this chord, the root bass would be, of course, the note of D, which I can find here on the 4th string. It's the open string of D. And if for instance, if I had to go on G, the chord of G, okay, the root bass would be the one played by the ring finger, which is a G. Okay, I think you're already following me here. For instance, I can do an arpeggio with root bass. If you remember when we did arpeggio, if I remember well, we started with the chord of D. I let you play the first four strings of the guitar. And for instance, going upwards or down and up. All right. So if I want to play an arpeggio with root bass, which gives me, how can I say, a bit more character in an arpeggio, because I use the principal note of the chord I'm working the arpeggio on. So in this way, I have to find where these root basses are, of course. So if I start from C, I'll have to play the root bass. In this case, it's on the 5th string, and the other 3 fingers, of course, will play the first 3 strings. So, for instance, if I move to A minor, okay, I'm still on the 5th string. Then I move to D minor. I also have an open string of D, which is the 4th string, and then it's a G chord, and I move my playing of the bass on the 6th string. So it requires a certain skill to do this. You know, you have to practice, of course, because you're moving your thumb or your pick from one string to the other. Whereas the first 3 strings are always played by the same fingers, or anyway, by the pick. Okay, so we reached this point because during playtime, I would like you to do a song with me in which we use arpeggio with root bass. So the song structure is a chord progression of C, and the tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, A minor, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and D minor, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and G, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so very simple. The strumming is just down and up, down and up. Okay, so on this you can place the arpeggio with root bass, starting with the chord of C, then A minor, then D minor, and then G. And you just do, using the root bass. All right, so what I'm doing is I play the root bass on the 5th string, and then I use 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. And I repeat, and I go into A minor. Root bass is the open string of A. Then I move to D minor, and root bass is the open string of D, and then I move to G, which is on the 6th string. Okay, so this is the structure of the song we will play together. You can practice, and then when we move to the playtime section, you will be ready. And so, stay tuned and go to playtime.
And finally, it's playtime.
Yes, it's playtime, but before we finish, please don't forget to subscribe and to follow us on the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest.
Where you will find many special features.
Extra special, like today's song.
Of course.
And the title is?
C, a minor demon Jim.
I hope it's not behind my back.
Well, you're not Jim, are you?
Of course not. Okay, let's do it then. All right, so for the explanation, just refer to the second part of the lesson, where you will find all the structure of the song. As usual, the song takes an inspiration from the chords that we use, which are C, A minor, D minor, and G. So you can probably find out why the title is C, a minor demon Jim. All right, let's do it.
Wait.
Yes? Ready? C, A minor dimension. C, A minor dimension. That's a minor dimension. And what you gonna do with a minor dimension? Oh, see, you were supposed to throw a pentangle. Amigo, instead you drew a triangle, diminishing quite obviously the power of the spell. Jim, you can't complain for what they sent you from hell. Oh, see, a minor dimension. See, a minor dimension. That's a minor dimension. And what you gonna do with a minor dimension? I'll play a chord progression in C. C, A minor, D minor, G. It's better than book, candle and bell. It'll send it back dancing and smiling to hell. Whoa. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. Very nice arpeggio down there.
Thank you. That was different.
The song, yes, wasn't it? But after all, always something new.
Untitled Adventure Level 2.
Ciao.